What is up, Planeswalkers? Se.3 back with some more Magic the Gathering Arena, and you know what? I've just decided we're going to go ahead and play some Nicol Control. I tried this again, not great. Tried this, is real hard. Well, actually, this is 1000 Year Ego. I don't know why I didn't rename it, but we're playing some Nicol. Now, as you could see, I guess I should talk about this a little bit. I'm going to start keeping a record of how the deck is doing when I do the actual event. So not just normal free play, but if I do competitive constructed or constructed event, I will try my best to keep track of the win percentages. I'm probably only going to do that with the rotation decks, so Zombies, Muldrotha, Abzan, and Bolas Control. And even if I do make changes to the deck, I'm going to probably keep the record like continual. So this is just a nice way to give you guys a little bit more information about how the deck is actually doing. For right now, I'm probably still going to be sticking to the best of one events, just because, especially with Control, it takes a long time to play out those best of 3 games. So this deck is essentially the same as it has been. The specific variant was more or less the exact list from a recent MTGO 5.0 list. If any of you, because I know that the games are going to go super long, I decided not to, I made like a cognitive decision not to actually go in and talk about each individual card, especially since I've been playing this deck a lot on the channel, and I'm going to be playing it a lot more. So if you are curious about why I'm playing a certain card, or why I'm not playing a certain card, especially one that is different from the previous list where I actually did go in depth on the deck tech, feel free to ask it in the comments below, and I'll do my best to give you a really detailed explanation on why I'm playing these various cards. Going up against Ode Defiance. Ode Defiance. I'm special. Ode Defiance. Many people. Let's see. This is fine. We don't have red, which is unfortunate, but we do have some removal. This might not be great. One of the things that a lot of people like take a long time to get better at is mulliganing, and we really do need to realize that we can play only one card in this hand, potentially 2, but I mean against a super aggressive deck, I don't know if we can win that. We are running 25 lands, I believe. We're going second, so if we were going first, I think I would have mulliganed this, but since we're going second, I think it's probably fine. Looks like we're going up against white-black of some variety, and we drew another land, which is nice. Still don't have red, but this is pretty much just a blue-black deck that has some red in it. Opponent's on white-black. Since I don't have a 3-drop here, I'm fine playing this just so I can, you know, on curve respond to an X2 that they play. For example, a Marvin frame, whatever. Just so I can do that, and I don't have to potentially waste this coming up turn, because. Yeah, so now I am able to just play the Disinformation Campaign. So what I was thinking of is on my second turn, I could have played, excuse me, this Memorial to Genius. But I knew that if I made that decision and my opponent played a creature, if I ended up drawing into a card, I wouldn't necessarily be able to play that because I'd want to potentially get rid of that creature. So Call to Feast is decent. It's not great, it's decent. We have access to Contempt. And our opponent is relatively likely going to be playing some sort of annoying vampire, potentially Legion Lieutenant, or gosh, I don't even remember the name of it. It's like a 4 or 5 mana night vampire that deals damage on attacks, but I guess they don't have either of those. And we're fine taking a little bit of damage here, sure. We got a nice Dragonskull Summit. Do we want to just run out our Nicol Bolas here? We're still at 20 life and we have 2 of them. So we're at the bare minimum getting some value here, even if our opponent like kills our Nicol Bolas. Right, so if they decide to kill our Bolas, which it looks like they're doing with probably a Contempt, we're getting a 2-for-1, right? And that's always really nice to have. We have plenty of cards left, you know, plenty of answers. We still have 2 threats, so this is pretty decent for us. I would of course like to get one of our board wipes. Oh, and our opponent didn't have anything. Okay. So Shira Johnny is pretty decent. There's not really any great thing they can do. I block one of the 2/2 creatures. They could have. There is a mono white buff. I don't remember the name of it. But no, they just pass it back to me. I think this is a pretty easy Contempt here on a Johnny. No reason to let him keep getting value there. And here I would much rather just play the Genius tapped because it always comes in tapped. And I don't really need to attack here. I essentially have full control of this game. My opponent has one card in hand if they're not attacking. Alright, drew all of my boluses, but we are going to... I'm going to play the Steam Vents tapped. I don't think there's a reason to do that. And we're just going to go ahead and Doom Whisper. Give us another good blocker. If our opponent decides to do some nonsense, we can go ahead and bounce Disinformation Campaign back to us. Alright, sure. So they play this, and I just don't even care about it at all. Our opponent really can't attack here. And we will go ahead and just bounce this once. I mean, our life total is so high, we just don't even care. Ritual of Soot is fantastic. Don't need that Sulfur Falls. So we sweep up all of these tokens, and yeah, and no, we won't have enough mana to also kill the Epicure of Blood. But the Epicure of Blood can't attack, so we can go ahead. Actually, yeah, we'll Soot first. And we might as well campaign. Yeah, cool. So we could have campaigned and just drawn a card. I don't think that would have been terribly bad. Essentially, we're just like paying 2 life to draw a card because we could just buy it back. But yeah, pretty textbook. Our opponent wasn't able to pressure us too much, so let's go on to the next game. It's possible I should play a couple games beforehand, so I'm potentially facing, you know, stronger opponents. Their records are going to be higher. But let me know what you guys want to see from these rotation games. We're going up against Se.3. Oh, right, I should put that in my description. So in my descriptions, I put a lot of good information. I really urge everyone who consistently watches to really look into all of the video descriptions. I try to put, you know, stuff there that's good. This hand is fine. We have double Ritual of Soot, which is only really good in, like, the super wide matchups. But we have lands and a bolus. We're going second. We could definitely face a flood situation, which I am relatively worried about, but if this is control, like, the thing is, our hand is decent against a go-wide strategy. Against control, it's also fine, because we don't have to worry about being pressured, and we have plenty of draws to get stuff, so I think this is fine. I think a mono-green deck would be the worst. Yeah, so it looks like it's possibly control. That's a good card to draw. Yeah, in my descriptions, I'm going to put what my rotation is, and the order it's in. So if you're ever curious about what decks... Should I show that I have red? Nah, I don't need to. I don't have double red in the deck, I believe. I believe it's just like a black-blue deck splash red for like just Nicol Bolas. So this looks like... I feel like this isn't a normal Grixis Control deck, because I don't typically see Radical Idea in the Grixis Control decks. And Double Mountain. That's interesting. Sure, I'm still fine just playing out this Catacomb. Them getting this down, little unfortunate. This deck currently doesn't have Field of Ruin, nor does it have its own main deck Search for Azcantas, which I don't necessarily agree with. If our opponent is able... Oh, cool. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and drop our own Ritual of Soot here. And to be honest, I think it's better for us to just play out our own Nicol Bolas. And then the following turn we can potentially Eldest Reborn. Like, killing their Nicol Bolas here, really all it does is put us behind. They essentially get a 2-for-1 on us. And they got rid of a counterspell, which is good. We really want to make sure we know what our opponent's putting in. And they put in another Radical Idea. So hopefully we'll be able to resolve this Eldest Reborn. I mean, my opponent, for example, yep, so they Eldest Reborn me, I'm going to Eldest Reborn them right back. So they do have the initiative because they went first, so they are going to be able to get 4 damage on me. But, I mean, our Eldest Reborns are just literally going to be competing Eldest Reborns. The problem, of course, is they get to do stuff first. I will just drop a Swamp here. Alright. They may all go lands, go a Swamp. The Ritual of Soot is almost certainly going to, like, not come into play. But... so now they have to discard. But there's not really a reason to have that much mana, I don't think. And we're probably going to end up dropping it for their coming up Bolas anyway, so... So they're going to get a Bolas, I'm going to get a Bolas. Yeah. I actually want my opponent to take my Bolas. And the reason I want them to take my Bolas is if they make a bad move and decide to flip my Bolas. Oh, he's doing it. The Mad Lad. So if he flips my Bolas, it gets exiled and returns to the battlefield under my control. Okay, they may have realized that at some point, but yes, so we're going to go and show this. Exile it, and then return it to its owner's control. And I owned the card. I guess I'll just resolve that and discard Ritual. So now that they're tapped out, I can go ahead and do this. And I'm going to have a Bolas. I won't have enough mana unless I draw it, and I didn't. But I won't have enough mana to flip my Bolas, which, honestly, that's fine. I'll just dome them. And I'll have Disinformation Campaign, so my opponent's not going to have any cards in hand, and they can't really do anything about that. So yeah, we'll just campaign them, get rid of their cards. I can draw. I mean, that's pretty decent. Got rid of their counterspell. My opponent now has functionally nothing. There's an argument to be made to just Discovery there, but I might actually want to keep it for Dispersal. If my opponent plays something I don't have an answer to, Dispersal can help me out. Fire Cannonade does nothing, so I guess they had nothing else. I guess you know what I should have, just because it would have given me the ability to have Disinformation Campaign this turn. Interesting. I think my opponent might be able to... No, they can't, because... Yeah, so Cannonade... I don't know if they actually have a way to kill my Bolas if I flip it. Like, I know one of the cards in their hand. I don't think for 3 mana there's anything that... In this color combination, that there's anything that would help them. So I actually think I am just going to flip this. It's kind of dangerous, but... It seems like it might have worked out. Just double check that there's nothing that I want to get.
I'm limitless.
No. So, I mean, I could just, like, draw 2 cards. I could, like, dome my opponent for 10. Oh, no, that's just adds creature, planeswalker. Never mind. Other, Amonkhet Bolas could dome for 7, so. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to +2 and draw 2 cards. So now even if they answer my Bolas, I'm still so much farther ahead of my opponent on card advantage. And honestly, I think it's, a part of this the radical idea. I really don't like that card in an actual Grixis Control shell. I think it just does too little. You know, you're not really gaining on cards. Like, you spend 1 card to draw a replacement, so yeah, that's advantage neutral, and then you discard a card to draw another card. It's still advantage neutral. Whereas Think Twice, you know, it was 2 cards. You're drawing 2 cards for a single card, so I don't know. I mean, no matter what my opponent does here, like, even if they deal some damage to my Bolas, even if somehow they kill it, and I don't think there's a way for them to, I've still drawn 2 more cards. Like, I made them discard, and I got 2 cards, so we'll see. Blue-black? Even if they bounce it with, like, a blink of an eye, right? That's still not good for them. And why wouldn't have... Yeah, there's no way it's blink of an eye. They would have done that in response. I'm not sure what my opponent's doing. I guess they are radical IDing? No, why would you do that? Why would you let me have the cards? My opponent could have easily done that before it flipped. I don't know why. Right? I'm not crazy, right? What's this card do? Non-land permanent. Yeah, I think I have no idea. I have no idea why they made that decision. I'm like, now I'm up 2 cards. Like, I can cast Bolas. I mean, do I want to cast Bolas? I mean, I might as well. I even have Dream Eater. I could even just, like, Discovery. So let's see. So there's 1 card that I don't know. So they blink of an eye. So that was the other card. So they didn't make this play with the intention of being able to for sure counter my spell. And they have 2 counterspells in the grave. I think it's fine, even if they counter this. I've already gotten so much value out of this Bolas that even if they counter it, right? That's like a 4 for 1, like minimum. Yeah, sure. Don't even remotely care. Now I will Discover Dispersal. Probably just find another Bolas, to be honest. Bounce this back to my hands. Don't need that. Don't need that. I don't really need this either, but it's fine. If my opponent plays another Bolas, I could 3-for-1 myself, essentially. But, I mean, yeah, next turn I can Disinformation Campaign. End of my opponent's turn, Dream Eater something if they decide to play something. Yeah, Niv Mizzet. Sure. I can Dream Eater that and then Disinformation Campaign them. Yes. Am I able to... I guess I'm not actually able to bounce that and force them to discard it. Sulfur Falls. I can campaign and then hold on upkeep. So we can campaign. Hold on upkeep to force them to cast this again. So yeah, I think I need to go into full control. Hold on upkeep. Because I believe if you do this, it'll go like to the end of draw step, and I can't have them draw a card. Yes, okay. So I know that, yeah, okay. This is fine. Okay, so before they draw, I cast Dream Eater. Yeah, pay for it. And I cast it again, and then so I have this, and then I can Disinformation. Oh no, darn. So I was trying to think that like Dispersal would help, but I don't think it does, because they're always going to be able to draw a card with it. I'm not sure if I'm able to actually do this. Oh, my bad, guys. Didn't realize it could resolve. That's... yeah, I mean, that's fair. I did forget about that, so potentially I could have done it on my turn. Eldest Reborn? Sure. Oh, wait, but now they can't cast it this turn. So now, yeah, now my opponent can't even cast Niv Mizzet. Thought Erasure is fantastic. Cast down I don't need. Sure, let's keep this. That's fine, whatever. Yes, we'll bounce this. Yes. I mean, I have some timeouts available. Yeah, timeout used. Take action. All right. No longer need full control. Okay, yeah. I mean, my opponent really did to try and get a counterspell there. But now they can't do anything. I don't. So I'm gonna draw a card. I have a bunch of mana. All right. I think I can actually make my opponent discard like everything in their hand. No, just most of it. Yeah, so this... No, yeah, everything. Because I can then Thought Erasure and do it again. Yeah. So I Thought Erasure one of these. Oh, wow, they chose that. That's interesting. That means they must have something really good. Opt? Sure. You need, like, a Negate? And even then, that doesn't work. Because I can still just play the campaign. Oh, no, I guess it does work. Darn. Have I played a land this turn? I don't think I did. So I think I just let that happen. And then Discovery for a land. Or I could just Sinister Sabotage, because I'm almost certain my opponent's going to cast this next turn. Yeah, I think that's fine. And yeah, there's no way... Even if unless they draw another... They need to draw exactly another Negate. Because I have Syncopate mana. So they have to have exactly another Negate. I mean, sure, Radical Idea is fine. That, I mean, doesn't actually help them. Cool. It's exactly how we drew it up. And this is, I mean, this is a nice thing about... about this deck. It doesn't seem as slow as like the Jeskai deck, because like I have creatures as win cons, not necessarily just the expansion explosions. So I don't need to just wait until I have an absurd amount of card advantage. I can just play a creature on at a certain point in the game where I feel comfortable and just murder my opponent. Up against Sacker. Great name. Great name. I want to address a comment made on yesterday's video. Vantalogic asks, what's your top 5 least favorite deck types to play against? Let's see. This is a fine hand. We have a shock land to make these come in untapped. We have mana. We have a thing. We have a counter. It's unfortunate that we keep going second. Please don't be green. Okay. I can't. Actually, you know what? This works really well. Vantalogic. One of my least favorite decks right now is freaking mono green Stompy, or like green with a very small splash Stompy. I hate that deck so much because it just goes under you. I mean, the decks I play, right, are control and mid-range. And the Stompy decks, if they go turn 1 elf, you're like, oh god, is a Steel Leaf coming? And then you're like, oh god, there's a Steel Leaf. If I don't have a response, I'm like, well, I'm dead. This is unfortunate. I assumed my opponent was on not a control deck. They don't have double blue, but they easily can just... I mean, I kind of have to just... Disinformation Campaign? I don't think that's correct. I think it's actually better to just discard Ritual of Soot. Yeah, I think it's actually better to just discard Ritual of Soot. As weird as that sounds. Playing out Campaign here. Playing out Campaign likely is going to get countered. And then they're going to be able to... Do I just let this happen? I think I have to let this happen too. Because they can untap with 5 mana and play a Ralzeric or a Teferi. And I can't really allow that to happen. I pretty much have to just wait, kind of want my opponent to do things. I would like to draw land. That'd be fantastic. Hey, look, it's a land. Cool. And once again, like, I'm going to pass turn. One of the things that you have to do is really figure out where you're meant to be drawing your cards, right? Or where you're meant to be deploying your cards, I should say. Because in these control mirrors, it's very often the case that when you decide to start casting your spells and they get countered, and then your opponent has tempo, and then they just cast their planeswalker, and then you're on the back foot. You've potentially just lost the ability to properly interact. And of course, I'm low on stuff here. I'm low on, like, the ability to do things. But as long as we keep drawing cards, we should be fine. Once we get to 6 mana, we can Disinformation Campaign hold up Sabotage, which is one of the things we want to do. Once we get to 7, we can have Bolas hold up Sabotage. We don't even have to fight over Bolas because we do have 2 of them in our hand. But you really want to make sure when you're playing these types of decks that you are... Ooh, interesting. So my opponent... Interesting. My opponent could be Explosioning for 3. And I'm fine just discarding a Moment of Craving. I would prefer to, like, have drawn a land. Nexus of Fate. So, my opponent... So, I've been told in the past that you should just let these Nexus of Fates resolve. So they're going to take an extra turn. They're going to take a turn anyway. So if I sabotage this, and they take their normal turn, and they cast a Planeswalker, then I can't do anything anyway. So I think it is correct to let this happen. You don't really see the Jeskai decks running Nexus of Fate. It's very interesting. Discard a Moment of Craving? Sure, don't care. But to answer your question more, my 5 least favorite, for sure, Mono Green Stompy. Definitely, like, the super aggressive red decks that just burn me all the time. I hate them. Other hated decks. I really don't have too much of a problem playing control mirrors. I know a lot of people, especially newer players, tend to really despise control. I don't think control is terribly a problem. I finally can discover. If they counted this, that's sure. I needed to get a card out of my hand anyway. But yeah, this is exactly what we want to see. Put this to the top because we want to be able to play this tapped this turn, and we still have up the sabotage. So green, black, mono, red. Oh, dude, the super fast white weenie. And you'll notice something. I hate a lot of super fast aggro decks. a lot of people hate Control because they feel like they can't play the game. Control just like makes it so that you're not able to resolve anything. But I see it on like a different spectrum. Whereas the super aggressive decks, they kill me before I get a chance to do anything, right? Against Control, I can keep forcing them to have answers. And at some point, either they're going to have answers, sure. I was able to like play the game and combat them and whatnot. Or they run out of answers and I kill them, right? I really don't see too much of a problem with Control. Right now, I could agree that Teferi maybe is like too strong for the format, but let's see, our opponent's on 8 mana. Can't really easily cast a Bolas here, unfortunately. So yeah, I think we just have to pass the turn. This deck is definitely going to be hard for me to beat, and it's probably going to have to be the last game, yeah, just based on how long these types of videos last. Mono white, mono red, the green Stompulist. I don't really hate too many of these decks, to be honest. So since my opponent showed me Nexus of Fate, I can't even cast this Dream Eater end of turn because my opponent could just Nexus of Fate, and then they untap with as much mana as they need. So I think Thought Erasure is fine here. It's obviously we're not getting like the Disinformation Campaign value, but I think it's yeah, I think Thought Eraser's fine. I honestly prefer to just continually hold up double counterspell, but can't necessarily do that. Opponent is on 3/7. 7 cards, a ton of mana. I will say I think this match is unfavored. That's fine. Our opponent gets to Surveil, but you can't really fight over a Thought Erasure like that. 5 mana. No, I think we'd have to just pass the turn. I don't think there are any other decks right now that I super hate. Lightning Strike, I don't even remotely care. Like, essentially I just have to counter his explosions, and only his explosions. And like his explosions and his planeswalkers, and I should be fine. Yeah, that's fine. Got rid of another Justice Strike. So, losing the answers to my creatures. Like, I'm running creatures. This is not an explosion deck. Could have just done that to flip Azcanta, which is, you know, a thing. Chose not to. Alright. Very interesting. But yeah, I mean, my opponent's at a point where I'm not sure I can combat the amount of mana they were able to get. Just those few turns where I wasn't able to draw mana. So, I mean, I pretty much have to counter this. They're probably going to counter back or just play another Teferi. And there's not really much I can do. I can try to Eldest Reborn the following turn, but they're going to be 5 cards in hand, almost certainly able to counter it. So, little unfortunate. If I draw a land, right, then Eldest Reborn has counterspell protection of its own. So I would love to draw some mana here. That is not mana. Right. I do think I just go for the Eldest Reborn. Yeah, I don't think playing anything else is much better. They're gonna flip the Azcanta. Yeah, I mean, I have to go for it. Yep, it's not resolving. It's very unfortunate. Yeah, Disdainful Stroke would have hit my boluses as well. That said, I'm just gonna chain boluses in the coming turns. An argument to be made for sure is just play bolus, but that's one of the reasons I'm not a fan of this build of the deck. In that you don't have a way to get rid of your opponent's Azcanta, and you don't have your own Azcanta. So you're better in the non-control mirrors. But in the control mirrors, they're just able to not care because they have Azcanta. So yeah. Yeah, at this point I don't think there's anything I can do. I guess I'll just campaign him. No, it resolves. I'm surprised. Hey, look, I got a land. They discarded a land. Makes sense. I mean, they have a ton. They could, if they wanted to, they could just minus and kill it with Ral, but I think it's correct to do this. I'm almost certain they're going to counter it, but at this point, I'm just trying to force them to get rid of everything in their hand. The problem is they're drawing 3 cards a turn, right? There's pretty much nothing I can do. They're drawing with this, they're drawing with this, and they're drawing with this. So, yeah. I think, unfortunately, this game came down to drawing cards, or drawing lands, and I just didn't draw lands. And you'll usually find that in these control mirrors, is that you want to just draw lands, essentially every turn, and have some sort of passive way to gain card advantage, right? My opponent had 3 Chemist's Insights, right? They were able to hold up counter magic and still do something if I chose not to. And this deck is, in my opinion, a bit lacking in that. And, I mean, at this point, they have Nexus Fate. There's not really a reason to stay in the game. So we're at 31. Yeah, I think it's fair to call it here. Especially since Arena is being strange. I think I have to restart. There's just, like, a weird memory problem with Magic Arena. So, alright, so this thing, I will go all the way and add what the record is, so. But for now, I'm gonna get a pack, open the pack. Good old Vault Progress. So, yep, alright. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I'd like to thank Easy Mode, DizzyFam, Radberry, Kyoshin, Ox, Daniel, Flowerchild, Chow083, Zaraga, and MadCuzBad for their support over on Patreon. I hope you guys look into joining them and supporting the channel. If you like this video, go ahead and tap that like button, add subscription to your Maniple, and cast one of those comments in the comment section down below. And until next time, all will be one.